The sterile scent of ozone and despair hung heavy in the Voxari medical bay, a silent testament to the advanced science that had just admitted defeat. Gleaming cold medical equipment, a complex web of wires and softly pulsing lights surrounded a small bio-networked incubator, its transparency offering no comfort, only a stark view of the tragedy unfolding within. Mira, a human mother, her face a mask of sleepless anguish, clung to the impossibly small, still hand of her hybrid child, Lyra. The baby's skin was a pale echo of Mira's own, tinged with the faintest lavender of her Voxari heritage, her chest barely rising with each shallow breath. Mira's gaze, raw and red-rimmed, was locked on the lead Voxari medic, Dr. Zyler. Tall and slender, his form draped in the severe, practical fabrics of his people, Zyler's multiple optical sensors, usually bright with focused intelligence, now seemed to absorb the ambient light without reflection. He turned from a complex diagnostic console, its surface alive with cascading streams of alien script and failing biological telemetry. All vital parameters are collapsing beyond our intervention threshold. Dr. Zylar's voice, usually a precise baritone, was softened by a layer of professional sorrow, the universal translator rendering his words with a chilling clarity. I am truly sorry, Mother Mira. We have given up on the child. A primary Voxari medical display, a wide crystalline panel near Lyra's incubator, underscored his words with brutal efficiency. Multiple vital sign graphs, once erratic peaks and valleys, now decayed into nearly flat lines. Red warning glyphs pulsed rhythmically, announcing cascading system failures within the infant's fragile body. Mira flinched as if physically struck, a choked sound escaping her lips. Her expression, already stretched taut with grief, shattered, the fragile composure she'd maintained crumbling under the weight of the pronouncement and the undeniable illuminated evidence of its truth. Dr. Zyler's primary optical senses dimmed, a slow shuttering that was the Voxari equivalent of a sigh, a gesture of shared, helpless sorrow. Beside Mira, Anthony Taylor, her husband, stood as a pillar that threatened to buckle. His hand rested on Mira's shoulder, a desperate anchor in a sea of despair. His face, mirroring her own sleeplessness, was etched with a profound, shared grief, his eyes reflecting the overwhelming finality of the technologically superior Voxari's assessment. He looked from the flatlining monitors to his wife, then to the impossibly small child, a man adrift in a galaxy of alien knowledge that had just declared defeat. A whisper of understanding passed through Mira's agony. Lyra's unique fragility, the very miracle of her human Voxari genesis, was now her undoing. This was an anomaly, their science, so finely tuned to Voxari physiology, could not unravel, a delicate, interwoven system their methods could not mend. Dr. Zylar made a subtle gesture with one of his delicate, multi-jointed hands. His medical team, their movements practiced and devoid of hesitation, began the procedural disengagement of active, life-sustaining interventions. The soft hum of one device faded, the light on another blinked out. Their actions were efficient, clinical, a stark counterpoint to the raw, untamed grief radiating from the human parents. Formal words of condolence, precise and culturally appropriate, were offered, each one a small, sharp stone added to Mira's burden. But as a Voxari technician reached to decouple the final nutrient line from Lyra's incubator, a subtle shift occurred in Mira. Her grip on Lyra's tiny, cool hand tightened, a convulsive pressure. Her gaze, which had been lost in the abyss of her child's failing form, lifted, locking onto Lyra's face. The pure anguish in her eyes did not lessen, but something new flickered within its depths, the first spark of a fierce, desperate maternal purpose, an unspoken, primal rejection of the finality being enacted before her. No, Mira's voice was a torn whisper, raw and unsteady, yet it cut through the quiet whirring of the disengaging machinery. You can't just stop. She's still here. She leaned closer to the incubator, her free hand rising to press against the cold transparency, as if trying to transmit her own life force through the barrier. Soft, urgent words, fragments of lullabies and whispered promises tumbled from her lips, a broken human melody of defiance. She stroked the nearly invisible down on Lyra's head through an open port, her touch feather light yet loaded with an impossible weight of love. Dr. Zylar's optical sensors refocused on Mira, a flicker of something unreadable within them. "Mother Mira," he said, his tone gentle but firm, steeped in the certainty of his science. "The biological processes are terminal. We understand your distress. It is a natural response." His posture, the slight inclination of his head, conveyed a compassionate dismissal. Her actions were grief, understandable but medically irrelevant. The chasm between intuitive human maternalism and data-driven alien science yawned wide. Witnessing Mira's resolute stance, the raw power of her refusal to surrender, Anthony straightened. The overwhelmed despair in his eyes was slowly eclipsed by a protective solidarity. He squeezed Mira's shoulder, then moved his hand to cover hers where it pressed against the incubator. "We're not leaving her, Mira," he affirmed, his voice low but steady, a clear choice made in the face of overwhelming expert opinion. "Not yet." Dr. Zylar observed them for a long moment, his multifaceted gaze unblinking. With another, almost imperceptible gesture, he signaled his team. The active interventions remained disengaged, but the basic vital sign monitors connected to Lyra, their displays now mostly showing quiescent lines, were left operational. A small, silent concession to the raw grief before him, or perhaps standard protocol for the near-departed. The Voxari medical team, their duties concluded, withdrew with quiet efficiency, leaving the vast, sterile chamber to the three humans and the fading life within the incubator. Mira, with Antony steadfastly by her side, began her unwavering vigil. She dedicated herself entirely to her child, her touch constant, her voice a low murmur of human songs and reassurances, weaving a fragile shield of love against the sterile silence of alien technology. She pulled a small insulated stool closer, positioning herself so she could maintain contact, her focus absolute. Hours bled into one another. Mira hummed a half-remembered lullaby, her cheek resting against the incubator's curve, her fingers gently tracing the outline of Lyra's hand through a flexible, sterile membrane. In that moment of particularly intense, focused connection, a flicker, so faint it was almost a hallucination, registered on one of Lyra's inactive cardiac monitors. A single hesitant spike in an otherwise desolate line, a ghost of a waveform where moments before there was only the dying flat line. It vanished as quickly as it appeared, easily dismissible as sensor noise, a random biological flutter in a system shutting down. The advanced science of a Voxari empire had surrendered, its pronouncements delivered with sorrowful certainty. The medical bay, a monument to that science, stood as a silent, sterile backdrop. but in the heart of a human mother, fueled by a love that defied logic and limitation, a different battle had just begun. The overwhelming despair had found its counterpoint, a defiant, unwavering maternal love, its power yet unknown, its potential untested, against the vast indifference of a universe that had already counted her child lost. Lyra's vitals flickered again, a tiny green spike against a field of red on the Voxari monitor, then vanished as quickly as it came. It was always the same, a whisper of improvement during Mira's lullabies, a fleeting surge when her skin met Lyra's, then a slow, agonizing descent back toward the flat line. Statistically improbable, Dr. Zyler had conceded, but statistically insignificant. A young Voxari medic, Tail, with iridescent blue markings tracing the contours of their slender face, adjusted the focus of their optical sensors. Assigned to routine monitoring duties in Sector Gamma, Tail diligently recorded each fluctuation in Lyra's bio-readings, noting the precise time and correlating it with the environmental logs. Sensor glitch, Tail initially surmised, or perhaps a random burst of neurological activity in the dying infant, but protocol demanded scrupulous documentation. "Hush now, little one," Mira crooned, her voice raspy with exhaustion. She gently stroked Lyra's pale hand, the skin cool and almost translucent. "Mama's here. Just listen to my heart." She pressed Lyra's tiny hand against her chest, willing her own life force to flow into the failing child. "She needs me," Mira whispered to Anthony, her voice barely audible above the rhythmic beeping of the machines. "Not their science, not their sterile perfection. She needs me." Anthony, his face etched with worry lines, squeezed Mira's shoulder. "I know, love. I see it too. Those little flickers, they're not nothing. You're reaching her, somehow." He adjusted the nutrient drip feeding into Mira's arm, a silent reminder that she hadn't eaten a proper meal in days. "You're doing everything you can." Tail, observing from the monitoring station, meticulously logged the interaction. Human-female vocalization. Species-specific lullaby. Skin-to-skin contact initiated. Subject Lyra. Minute increase in cardiac rhythm, followed by return to baseline within 7.2 seconds. Tael then accessed the publicly available human medical databases, a cascade of holographic windows blooming around them. Maternal bonding, pheromonal influence, the letdown effect. The information was rudimentary, anecdotal, almost laughably unscientific, compared to Voxari data standards. Mira coughed, a deep, rattling sound that shook her frail frame. Anthony gently wiped her brow with a cool cloth. "Easy, love. You need to rest. Let me take over for a bit." Mira shook her head, her eyes fixed on Lyra. "No, I can't. What if she needs me and I'm not here?" Tears welled in her eyes, blurring her vision. "I'm failing her, Anthony. I'm trying, but it's not enough. She's slipping away, and I can't stop it." Anthony knelt beside her, taking her hand. "You're not failing her, Mira. You're giving her the greatest gift of all, your love. You're fighting for her with every breath you take. And I'm here, right here, fighting with you. We're a team, remember? We always have been." He pulled her close, letting her lean on him, drawing on his own strength to replenish her depleted reserves. "She feels you, Mira. I know she does. Just keep singing, keep holding her, keep loving her." After several shifts, Tail noticed a pattern. The positive vital sign responses were most pronounced during Mira's performance of a specific human lullaby. a haunting melody filled with longing and tenderness. And when Mira maintained direct skin-to-skin contact with Lyra, her palm pressed against the infant's chest. Tail compiled the data, a neat stack of holographic graphs and charts, and presented it to Lyra, a more senior medic, during the shift change briefing. Lyra, her facial markings a deep, authoritative purple, reviewed the data with polite skepticism. Interesting correlations, Tail. However, the fluctuations remain within the margin of error. It's likely a coincidence, or perhaps a placebo effect on the human mother. Her emotional state is undoubtedly influencing the readings, however subtly. Medically insignificant, I'm afraid. Unseen, the Voxari Medical Administration began to express concerns. The prolonged use of a critical care incubator for a patient deemed terminal was becoming a point of contention. Efficient allocation of resources was paramount, and Lyra's case was flagged for review. Dr. Zyler was informed of the administrative concerns during a strategy meeting, the subtle pressure unmistakable. Reallocating the incubator would free it for a patient with a higher probability of survival. But Zyler, despite his skepticism, couldn't shake the memory of those fleeting green spikes on the monitor, the almost imperceptible improvements that seemed to coincide with Mira's presence. He decided to observe Mira and Lyra more closely, spending an hour in the sterile medical bay, watching Mira's tireless vigil, listening to the haunting melody of the human lullaby. He saw the exhaustion etched on Mira's face, the unwavering love in her eyes, the almost desperate hope that clung to her like a shroud. Later that day, Dr. Zyler approached Mira and Anthony, his voice carefully neutral. A review of Lyra's case is scheduled for tomorrow. The continued use of the advanced incubator, it may not be sustainable, given the current prognosis and the limited objective improvement. Mira's face crumpled. You're going to take her away from me, aren't you? You're going to give up on her. Her voice was a choked sob. Please, Doctor, don't. I know she can feel me. I know I can help her. Just give me more time. Please. Dr. Zyler hesitated, his optical senses dimming in a gesture of conflicted empathy. I can grant a temporary extension, 24 hours. But understand, Mother Mira, this is pending further review. If there is no significant, objective improvement within that time frame. Mira nodded frantically, tears streaming down her face. Thank you, Doctor. Thank you. I won't let you down. Fueled by a mixture of desperation and renewed hope, Mira intensified her vigil. She sang to Lyra, she held her, she poured all her remaining energy into connecting with her child, willing her to live. Anthony watched, his heart aching with a mixture of love, admiration, and profound concern for Mira's well-being. As the 24-hour extension neared its end, the monitors began to scream. Lyra's vital signs plummeted. Cardiac rhythm, critical. Neural activity, minimal. Oxygen saturation, dangerously low. The green spikes vanished, replaced by a relentless, unwavering red. Lyra's condition had taken a sudden, dramatic turn for the worse. The erratic beeping intensified, a frantic counterpoint to the rhythmic hum of the incubator. Lyra's tiny chest barely rose and fell. The oxygen saturation display plummeted, a crimson stain against the sterile blue of the monitor. Her heart rate, once a steady pulse, now stuttered and skipped, each beat a desperate plea. Brainwave activity, usually a gentle dance of electrical signals, had devolved into a chaotic storm, then dwindled to a flickering ember. Alarms blared, their strident cries echoing the silent scream in Mira's heart. Panic threatened to overwhelm her, but a deeper instinct took hold. She leaned closer, her cheek brushing against the smooth, cool surface of the incubator. "Lyra," she whispered, her voice trembling but firm. "Mama's here. Don't you leave me, baby. Don't you dare." She began to sing, a soft, wordless melody, a human lullaby passed down through generations, a song of comfort and love. Her fingers, intertinged with Lyra's impossibly small hand, tightened gently, attempting to transmit a sense of calm, of reassurance, a lifeline in the face of the encroaching darkness. Anthony, his face etched with terror, scrambled back from the incubator controls. "Zyla! We need Zyla!" "Something's happening. She's getting worse." He fumbled with the comm panel, his voice cracking as he issued the urgent summons. "Dr. Zyla, immediate assistance required." Critical deterioration. The Voxari medic arrived swiftly, his tall, slender form gliding into the bay with an unsettling grace. His multiple optical sensors flickered as he scanned the readouts, his delicate manipulators already extending towards the diagnostic panel. "The parameters are suboptimal," he stated, his voice a modulated baritone, devoid of inflection. "Oxygen saturation at critical levels. Cardiac function severely compromised. Neural activity minimal." He paused, his optical sensors dimming slightly. "Conventional methods have proven ineffective. We have exhausted all standard protocols." He turned to face Mira and Anthony, his expression conveying a clinical, detached sorrow. "There is one remaining option, but it is experimental. A highly targeted bioresonance stimulation. It carries significant risks, particularly given the complexities of hybrid physiology. The success rate is low." Before Zyla could elaborate, a voice cut through the sterile atmosphere. "Doctor, with respect, have we fully accounted for the human maternal factor?" Tail, a younger Voxari medic, stepped forward, her bioluminescent skin patterns shifting with a subtle urgency. "The data from the previous cycles clearly indicates a correlation between the infant's neural response and the mother's presence. Perhaps suppressing that connection during such a procedure would be detrimental." Zyla hesitated, his optical sensors focusing on Tile, then on Mira, who was still singing softly, her eyes locked on Lyra's face. He ran a diagnostic scan of his own, his manipulators flitting across the console. The readouts confirmed Tile's observations. Lyra's vital signs were plummeting, but there was a faint, almost imperceptible resonance between her brainwave activity and the frequencies of Mira's voice. His internal conflict was palpable, a silent battle between scientific protocol and the mounting evidence of the unquantifiable. He could initiate the bioresonance stimulation, a procedure grounded in Voxari science, but with unknown consequences for a hybrid. Or he could acknowledge the human maternal factor, a variable that defied easy categorization, a force that his training had taught him to disregard as sentimentality. Mira, sensing his hesitation, looked up, her eyes pleading. "Don't take me away from her. Please. She needs me. I know she does. Whatever you do, please, let me stay with her. Let me touch her. Let me sing to her." Zyla considered her words, her unwavering conviction. He glanced at Anthony, who nodded, his face a mask of quiet desperation. He looked back at Tile, who offered a subtle, almost imperceptible nod of encouragement. "Very well," Zyla conceded, his voice betraying a hint of uncertainty. We will proceed with the bioresonance stimulation, but we will attempt to integrate the human maternal factor. Mother Mira, you will maintain constant physical and emotional contact with the infant throughout the procedure. Medic Tail, you will monitor both the infant's and the mother's biosignatures with maximum sensitivity. We must gather as much data as possible. He turned back to the console, his manipulators moving with renewed purpose. He initiated the preparations, activating the complex array of bioscanners and resonance emitters. The air crackled with energy as the equipment powered up, bathing the incubator in a soft, pulsating light. The bioresonance stimulation began, a low, resonant hum filling the medical bay. Xylar carefully adjusted the parameters, targeting specific neural pathways in Lyra's brain. His optical sensors focused intently on the readouts. Almost immediately, Lyra's condition worsened. The rapid beeping increased. The oxygen level decreased further, and the intense surge in her brain grew, threatening to lessen the remaining brain function. Alarms blared anew, their cries even more urgent, more desperate. Mira gasped, her eyes widening in terror. She intensified her efforts, singing louder, her voice filled with a desperate plea. She held Lyra's hand tighter, pressing it against her cheek, attempting to transmit all her love, all her hope, all her strength. She began to sing the specific human lullaby that Tail had identified, the one that seemed to elicit the most consistent response in Lyra's brain. As Mira sang, Tail's optical sensors detected a subtle but significant shift in Lyra's biosignature. A faint synchronization emerged, a delicate dance between the frequencies of Mira's voice and the electrical activity in Lyra's brain. It was barely perceptible, a whisper of hope amidst the cacophony of alarms, but it was there. Xylar, alerted by Tail, focused his attention on the bioscanners. He observed the unusual synchronization, the way the frequencies of Mira's voice seemed to be resonating with Lyra's neural pathways, modulating her response to the Voxari stimulation. It was an anomaly, a phenomenon that defied easy explanation, but it was undeniable. For a fleeting moment, Lyra's condition stabilized. The oxygen saturation improved slightly, the heart rate became more regular, and the chaotic brainwave activity showed a nascent, coherent pattern, a spark of life flickering in the darkness. Xylar's mind raced, formulating a preliminary hypothesis. Could it be? Was the human maternal bioresonance acting as a crucial catalyst, modulating Lyra's response to the Voxari stimulation, somehow bridging the gap between their disparate physiologies? He made a decision. Increase the intensity of the bioresonance stimulation, he ordered, his voice firm but cautious. But maintain constant vigilance. Monitor both the infant's and the mother's biosignatures with maximum sensitivity. Adjust the parameters based on the feedback from the human maternal factor. We are charting unknown territory here. He cautiously increased the intensity, his manipulators dancing across the console, his optical sensors glued to the readouts. Lyra's condition remained critical, her vital signs still fragile, the long-term prognosis uncertain. But she was no longer in immediate danger. She was clinging to life, sustained by a combination of Voxari science and human love. As the combined treatment continued, a completely new, previously uncatalogued biosignature began to emanate from both Mira and Lyra, a complex, interwoven pattern that pulsed with an unknown energy, baffling the Voxari medical team and raising profound new questions about the nature of their connection. Help but wonder what came next. The soft, rhythmic beeping of the Voxari monitoring equipment continued, a counterpoint to the frantic flutter in Mira's chest. The bioluminescent displays charted Lyra's faltering vital signs, overlaid with the complex waveforms of the newly discovered biosignature, a shimmering, ethereal pattern that pulsed in a way that seemed almost sentient. It wasn't stable. The intensity fluctuated wildly, spiking briefly when Mira sang a lullaby, dipping precariously when she paused. Across the bay, two Voxari medics, their slender forms illuminated by the cool blue light, spoke in hushed tone. The anomaly persists, but its origin remains unclear. One said, his bioluminescent skin patterns flickering with uncertainty. The other, a more senior medic, scoffed, his optical sensors narrowing. Instrument error, most likely. These human devices are notoriously unreliable. We should recalibrate the sensors and disregard the readings. A third voice, sharper and more insistent, cut through their skepticism. That is premature, Kyle. The correlation with the infant's vitals is statistically significant. We cannot dismiss this without further investigation. Tyle, a younger Voxari medic with an intensity that belied their age, stepped forward. We must prioritize further data collection. This could be a breakthrough, a completely new understanding of interspecies biology. Tyle's bioluminescent markings pulsed with an almost feverish energy. Meanwhile, Mira's strength was failing. Each breath hitched in her throat, each lullaby a monumental effort. Her muscles ached, her vision blurred, and the sterile scent of the medical bay seemed to cling to her skin, a constant reminder of Lyra's precarious state. She hadn't slept in what felt like an eternity. Anthony gently stroked her hair, his touch a silent reassurance. He offered her a tube of nutrient paste. Here, love, you need to keep your strength up. Lyra needs you. His voice was rough with exhaustion, but his eyes held a fierce dedication. Dr. Zyla, observing the fluctuating biosignature with growing intensity, began to manipulate the controls of a nearby console. I am initiating a series of controlled experiments, he announced, his voice echoing through the bay, to isolate the variables influencing this human maternal factor. The first experiment began. The Voxari team introduced carefully calibrated stimuli, soft pulses of light, gentle vibrations, subtle shifts in temperature, monitoring the impact on Lyra's condition and the biosignature's intensity. The monitors displayed the results in precise, emotionless data streams. The controlled stimuli produced minimal changes. Lyra remained fragile, the biosignature flickering erratically, seemingly unaffected by the external inputs. A baseline was established, a stark reminder of the limits of conventional Voxari medicine. Then came the second experiment, the one that made Mira's blood run cold. Dr. Zyla, his face etched with scientific detachment, gave the order. Initiate maternal separation protocol. Duration, 5 minutes. 2 Voxari medics approached Lyra's incubator, their movements precise and efficient. Mira's breath hitched. No, please, don't. Her voice was a desperate whisper, barely audible above the hum of the machinery. Anthony placed a hand on her arm, his grip firm. I know, love. I know, but we have to trust them. They're trying to help. His voice was strained, his own fear barely concealed. As the medics gently lifted Lyra from the incubator and placed her in a separate, isolated chamber, the effect was immediate and terrifying. Lyra's vital signs plummeted. Her heart rate spiked, then flatlined. Her skin turned ashen. The biosignature on the monitors dimmed, flickering like a dying flame. Alarms blared, filling the medical bay with a cacophony of urgent sound. The Voxari medics exchanged panicked glances. Terminate the experiment. Re-establish maternal contact. Dr. Zyler barked, his voice tight with urgency. The separation lasted less than a minute, but it felt like an eternity. As Lyra was returned to Mira's arms, her tiny body limp and unresponsive, Mira's heart clenched in terror. She cradled Lyra close, whispering words of love and comfort, her tears falling onto the infant's pale face. Slowly, agonizingly slowly, Lyra's vital signs began to stabilize. Her heart rate returned to a precarious rhythm. Her skin regained a faint blush of color. The biosignature flickered back to life, growing stronger with each passing moment. Dr. Zyler stared at the monitors, his optical sensors wide with disbelief. He replayed the data, analyzing the waveforms, searching for a rational explanation. But there was none. The evidence was undeniable. The human maternal factor was not merely a comforting sentiment, but a vital, life-sustaining force. Data analysis revealed the biosignature was composed of a complex interplay of hormonal, bioelectrical, and potentially empathic components. The hormonal components were similar to those found in human breast milk, but far more concentrated and potent. The bioelectrical components were a unique energy field, emanating from Mira's body, resonating with Lyra's own bioelectrical field. But it was the empathic component that truly baffled the Voxari. Preliminary analysis suggested a form of neural synchronization between Mira and Lyra, facilitated by human mirror neurons, specialized brain cells, that allowed humans to feel and understand the emotions of others. As Mira continued to hold Lyra, her intuitive connection with her child deepened. She could feel Lyra's fear, her pain, her desperate need for comfort. It was as if their minds were merging, their thoughts and emotions flowing freely between them. Then it happened. A shared dream, a fleeting vision of warmth and light, a moment of profound connection, where Mira and Lyra perceived each other's thoughts and feelings directly. Mira saw Lyra as a tiny spark of light, struggling to survive in a vast, cold universe. Lyra felt Mira's love, a warm, protective shield against the darkness. Dr. Zyler, monitoring their neural activity during the shared dream, observed a complete synchronization of their brainwave patterns. The monitors displayed a perfect mirror image, a testament to the extraordinary empathic connection between mother and child. He stepped back from the console, his face pale with awe. "Incredible," he whispered, his voice barely audible. "The implications are staggering." He turned to Tail, his eyes filled with a newfound commitment. "We must understand this. We must dedicate ourselves to unlocking the secrets of the human maternal factor. This changes everything." Zyler reallocated resources with the precision of a surgeon, his bioluminescent skin flickering with the intensity of his focus. Project Maternal Resonance is now designated Priority 1. All other research teams will provide support as needed. A ripple of dissent passed through the assembled medics in the control room, their own skin tones dimming in disapproval. Dr. Bellar, a senior physician known for his work on Voxari viral immunology, stepped forward. "With all due respect, Dr. Zyler, we are facing a virulent outbreak in Sector Gamma. Reassigning personnel will severely hamper our efforts." Zyler's optical sensors narrowed. The potential applications of understanding the human maternal factor extend far beyond this single case, Bella. It could revolutionize neonatal care for all species, including our own. The risks justify the potential rewards. Bellard remained unconvinced, his mandibles twitching in silent protest. Later, in a private alcove overlooking the sprawling medical complex, Dr. Lyra approached Xyla, her voice soft but firm. "Xyla, I understand your scientific curiosity, but are we truly considering the well-being of the child? This maternal deprivation experiment, however unintentional, could be causing her harm." Xyla sighed, the bioluminescent patterns on his face shifting to a calmer hue. "I assure you, Lyra, every precaution is being taken. We are not depriving her of maternal contact. We are simply attempting to isolate and understand the specific components of that interaction. The data we gather could save countless other hybrid infants." He paused, his gaze hardening slightly. "Besides, are we not scientists? Is it not our duty to explore the unknown, even if it means taking calculated risks?" The team began Experiment 3, Vocalization Analysis. Mira, exhausted but resolute, sat beside Lyra's incubator, humming a soft Terran lullaby. Sophisticated Voxari bioscanners recorded every nuance of her voice, dissecting the complex frequencies and patterns. On the monitors, Lyra's vital signs flickered in response, a subtle dance of improvement and regression. "Doctor, we've identified a distinct frequency range that correlates with increased neural activity in the infant," a junior medic reported, his voice filled with excitement. "It appears to be a species-specific vocalization pattern." Hope surged through the team, but it was short-lived. When they attempted to replicate these frequencies artificially, using advanced Voxari sonic emitters, Lyra remained unresponsive. The sterile, synthesized sounds had no effect. Frustration mounted. "The frequencies are correct. The amplitude is identical," another medic said, his voice filled with confusion. "Why isn't it working?" Xyla observed the monitors, his brow furrowed in thought. "Perhaps," he said slowly, "it is not merely the sound itself, but the intention behind it, the emotion." He turned to his team. "We need to monitor the mother's emotional state in real time. Map her feelings to the infant's responses." Experiment 4 commenced. A network of neural scanners was placed around Mira's head, recording her brain activity as she interacted with Lyra. The monitors displayed a chaotic symphony of colors, each representing a different emotion. As Mira sang, a specific pattern emerged, a complex interplay of love, hope, and protectiveness. But then, a flicker of fear crossed her mind, a memory of the medic's initial pronouncement of doom, and Lyra's vital signs plummeted. "Doctor, a negative correlation," a medic exclaimed. "Maternal anxiety directly impacts the infant's stability." Even more astonishing, Lyra began exhibiting signs of enhanced empathy. When Mira felt a surge of joy, Lyra's tiny hand would twitch. When Mira experienced a moment of sadness, Lyra would emit a soft, mournful cry. It was as if the two were connected by an invisible thread. During a routine examination, a medic accidentally bumped Lyra's incubator, causing the infant a moment of discomfort. Instantly, Mira gasped, clutching her chest. "She's in pain," she cried, her face contorted in agony. Xyla, initially skeptical, checked the sensor readings. "Incredible," he murmured. "The mother is registering the infant's sensory input, a previously unheard of phenomenon." Driven by a desperate hope, the team embarked on Experiment 5, Simulated Maternal Presence. They created a device that mimicked Mira's biosignature, her hormones, her vocal frequencies, her empathic resonance. But when they placed the device near Lyra, it provided only minimal benefit. The infant remained weak and unstable. Xyla stared at the monitors, his mind racing. "There's something missing," he said, his voice barely a whisper. "Something we're not seeing." He paused, his gaze hardening with grit. "I believe a previously unknown form of quantum entanglement is facilitating the information transfer between mother and child. We need to delve deeper, beyond the physical realm." Word of Xyla's increasingly unorthodox research reached the Voxari Medical Council. A holographic projection of the council members appeared in Xyla's lab, their faces stern and disapproving. "Dr. Xyla," the lead counselor intoned, "your methods are becoming increasingly unconventional. We are receiving reports of resource mismanagement and a lack of tangible progress. We are considering withdrawing funding." Xyla stood firm, his bioluminescent skin glowing with defiance. "I assure you, counselors, we are on the verge of a major breakthrough. We are uncovering fundamental truths about life and consciousness. I request more time." The counselor's image flickered. "We will grant you one final inspection in 3 cycles. Prove your findings, Doctor, or face the consequences." The projection vanished, leaving Xyla alone in the lab, the weight of the council's disapproval heavy on his shoulders. As if in response to the council's threat, Lyra's condition suddenly deteriorated. Her vital signs plummeted, her tiny body convulsing in the incubator. Mira, frantic with worry, rushed to her side. "What's happening?" she cried, her voice filled with despair. "What's wrong with her?" Xyla and his team worked feverishly, but nothing seemed to help. Lyra was fading fast. Then Mira gasped, her eyes widening with terror. "There's something else," she whispered, her voice trembling. "Something dark. I feel it." A threat to her. Mira trembled. The sterile chill of the medical bay suddenly amplified, biting at her skin like frost. It's like a coldness," she whispered, her voice barely audible. She clutched Antony's hand, her fingers tightening. A loss of connection, specifically targeting Lyra's neural pathways. "I felt it a moment ago." Antony squeezed her hand, his brow furrowed with concern. He glanced at Dr. Xyla, who observed Mira with a mixture of sympathy and professional assessment. "Mother Mira, I understand you're experiencing significant distress," Xyla said, his optical sensors dimming slightly in a gesture of reassurance. "However, it's likely stress-induced anxiety. We'll run a full diagnostic scan, but I suspect it's a phantom sensation." Mira shook her head, her violet eyes pleading. "No, you don't understand. It was real." "Please check her neural activity." Xyla hesitated, then nodded to a nearby technician. "Initiate a comprehensive neural scan. Prioritize empathic processing and bioresonance activity." The hum of the scanners filled the room, the holographic displays flickering with complex data streams. Minutes stretched into an eternity. Finally, Xyla turned back to Mira, his expression grave. "The scans confirm a sharp decline in Lyra's neural activity, Mother Mira, particularly in the areas you mentioned, empathic processing and bioresonance. The decline is significant." Mira gasped, a hand flying to her mouth. "I knew it. I felt it happening." "Doctor," Anthony interjected, his voice tight with worry. "What does this mean?" "It's too early to say definitively," Xyla replied, his delicate manipulators adjusting the holographic display. "But the pattern is concerning. Mother Mira, you mentioned feeling this before the decline. Can you describe your emotional state leading up to the premonition?" Mira looked at him, surprised. You believe me? I am a scientist, Mother Mira. I observe and analyze data. The correlation, if any, is what matters. What were you feeling? Mira closed her eyes, searching her memory. A growing unease, a sense of impending darkness, a feeling of being watched, judged. And when did you first experience this? Zyla pressed. Just before I felt the coldness descend on Lyra, Mira said, opening her eyes. Please correlate my emotional state before the premonition with Lyra's neural activity. There has to be a connection. Zyla nodded, issuing a series of commands to the technicians. The holographic displays shifted, analyzing data streams from Mira's earlier scans. A tense silence filled the medical bay. Doctor, a technician announced, his voice hushed with surprise. I've found a correlation. A unique neural signature in Mother Mira's brain moments before she reported the premonition. A pattern not previously observed. Zyla's optical senses widened slightly. He studied the display, his manipulators tracing the complex neural pathways. Remarkable. Truly remarkable. He looked at Mira, a flicker of scientific curiosity replacing his initial skepticism. It appears, Mother Mira, that you possess an unusual sensitivity. Perhaps a form of empathic resonance with your child. He paused, then continued. It is possible that an external source of quantum interference is disrupting Lyra's neural pathways, triggering your premonition. A disruption that, for reasons we do not yet understand, you are uniquely sensitive to. Before Mira could respond, a chime echoed through the medical bay. Zyla turned to a comms panel. Yes? He listened for a moment, his expression hardening. Understood. Prepare for immediate inspection. He turned back to Mira and Anthony, his voice grim. The Voxari Medical Council is arriving. They've been monitoring our progress, or lack thereof. They wish to assess the situation personally. A few minutes later, the doors to the medical bay hissed open, and a delegation of Voxari entered, led by a stern, gaunt elder with multiple optical sensors and a disapproving air. The elder's bioluminescence pulsed with a cold, authoritative light. Dr. Zyla, the elder said, his voice amplified by a vocal modulator, we have reviewed your reports. The Council is concerned by your deviation from established protocols. We demand immediate access to your research data and a full explanation of these unorthodox methods. Zyla bowed his head respectfully. Elder, I assure you, my methods are grounded in scientific inquiry. We are on the verge of a breakthrough. A breakthrough based on maternal intuition? The elder scoffed, his optical sensors focusing on Mira with disdain. Sentimentality has no place in medicine. The Council deems this experiment unsustainable. We demand immediate termination of the maternal bioresonance enhancement protocol. Mira gasped, her hand flying to her chest. No, you can't. I'm helping her. Silence, human, the elder snapped, his bioluminescence flaring. Your emotional outbursts are irrelevant. Dr. Zyla, you are ordered to cease all unconventional treatments and revert to standard Voxari medical procedures immediately. Zyla hesitated, his optical sensors flickering uncertainly. Elder, with all due respect, immediate cessation could harm the infant. Her system is highly sensitive. We need to wean her off the maternal bioresonance gradually. The elder considered this for a moment, his expression unyielding. Very well. You have 1 cycle to demonstrate tangible improvement using established methods. If not, the experiment will be terminated, and the infant will be placed in standard care. Is that understood? Xyla bowed his head. Understood, Elder. As the council members began their inspection of the equipment, Mira pulled Xyla aside, her voice urgent. You can't let them do this. Lyra needs me. You said there was quantum interference. Can you find the source? Xyla nodded. I've already initiated a search. But it will take time. The council's deadline. It's impossible. Mira closed her eyes, focusing her empathic abilities. A moment later she gasped, her eyes snapping open. I know where it's coming from. It's a direction. That way. She pointed towards a section of the research facility, a nearby research lab. I can feel it, a dampening, a suppression. Xyla's optical sensors widened. Neurosuppression research? That's highly restricted. He immediately contacted security, requesting access to the lab Mira indicated. A tense wait ensued. Finally, the comms panel chimed. Dr. Xyla, a security officer, reported, "We've accessed the lab. It's conducting research on neurosuppression technology designed to dampen empathic abilities in criminals." Neurosuppression? Xyla repeated, his voice grim. That could be the source of the quantum interference. Doctor, the security officer continued. A junior scientist in the lab admits to an experiment runaway scenario. The technology's range has expanded beyond its intended parameters. They're struggling to contain it. Xyla's manipulators clenched. This is catastrophic. I need that technology shut down immediately. He turned to the council elder, his voice firm. Elder, we've located the source of the interference. It's a neurosuppression field emanating from a nearby lab. It's disrupting Lyra's neural pathways. We need to shut it down now. The elder frowned, his bioluminescence pulsing with disapproval. Neurosuppression technology is vital for maintaining order in our society, Doctor. We cannot simply shut it down based on circumstantial evidence. Circumstantial? Lyra's life is at stake? Mira cried, stepping forward. Please, you have to listen to me. I can feel her fading. The elder ignored her, his gaze fixed on Xyla. Doctor, I remind you of your obligations to the Council and to the greater good. We cannot jeopardize a crucial research project based on the subjective feelings of a human mother. As they argued, a piercing alarm blared through the medical bay. The holographic displays flickered wildly, showing Lyra's vital signs plummeting. Doctor! A technician shouted, his voice frantic. Lyra's condition is deteriorating rapidly. Her neural activity is collapsing. Xyla rushed to Lyra's incubator, his optical sensors scanning the readings. The neurosuppression field is intensifying. It's causing irreversible neural damage. Mira stumbled forward, her face contorted with anguish. Please, please, you have to stop it. She's dying. She turned to the council elder, her voice cracking with desperation. Please, I beg you. She's just a baby. Don't let her die because of your research. Tears streamed down her face as she pleaded, her human vulnerability stark against the cold, clinical environment. The council elder remained unmoved, his expression firm. I understand your concern, Mother Mira, but the needs of society outweigh the well-being of one person. We cannot compromise our research. Xyla, witnessing Lyra's imminent death, his face a mask of fierce dedication, turned to a control panel. I have no choice. I'm overriding the neurosuppression system manually. Doctor, you are in direct violation of council orders, the elder bellowed, his bioluminescence flaring with fury. Security? prevent him from interfering with the neurosuppression technology. Two Voxari security officers, their energy weapons drawn, moved to intercept Scylla. A brief but intense physical confrontation erupted, the sterile medical bay suddenly filled with the sounds of struggle and the crackle of energy weapons. Amidst the chaos, a long, sustained tone emanated from Lyra's monitors. The holographic displays flatlined. Lyra's vital signs vanished completely. Mira, ignoring the pronouncement of death and the sterile chaos swirling around her, immediately began performing a frantic human form of CPR on Lyra. Her hands, trembling with exhaustion and terror, pressed against Lyra's tiny chest, mimicking a heartbeat that was fading too fast. She tilted Lyra's head back, her breath coming in ragged gasps, and forced air into the child's still lungs, her lips brushing against the pale, almost translucent skin. Voxari medics, their multi-jointed limbs clicking softly against the polished floor, moved to pull Mira away. "Mother Mira, cease! The infant is beyond resuscitation. Your actions are futile and potentially harmful given the fragility of her condition," one of them stated, his optical sensors dimming in what Mira perceived as detached pity. Antony, his face a mask of grief and desperate hope, physically intervened, placing himself between Mira and the medics. "No, she's her mother. Let her try. She has that right." "You gave up. She hasn't." His voice, strained but firm, resonated with a primal protectiveness. Dr. Zyla, momentarily freed from the grasp of the Voxari security forces who had been attempting to guide him back to the observation gallery, observed Mira's actions with a mixture of skepticism and a flicker of something akin to scientific curiosity. His optical senses, usually focused and analytical, seemed to soften slightly as he watched the raw, unfiltered display of maternal desperation. Mira, oblivious to the conflict around her, continued her efforts, her movements becoming more intuitive, more rhythmic. While performing CPR, she began to hum a soft, almost inaudible melody, a specific human lullaby her own mother had sung to her. The tune was simple, repetitive, a comforting balm against the encroaching silence. She maintained constant skin-to-skin contact with Lyra, her small, calloused hands cradling the infant's fragile form, focusing all her love, all her intention into that single desperate act. A sharp, commanding voice cut through the sterile air. "Enough! This display is unproductive and potentially detrimental to the ongoing research." A Voxari Council elder, his bioluminescent patterns pulsing with authority, strode into the medical bay, flanked by more security forces. "Restrain the human female and the dissenting physician. Return them to the observation gallery." Scylla, his optical senses widening in what might have been defiance, stepped forward. "Council elder, I implore you. We are witnessing an unprecedented phenomenon. At the very least, we should observe the human mother's actions. There may be unforeseen factors at play." He subtly manipulated the controls on a nearby console, his delicate manipulators moving with practiced speed. He created a brief, almost imperceptible pause in the neurosuppression field that had been blanketing Lyra's brain, a desperate gamble, a flicker of hope against the encroaching darkness. During that fleeting pause, ultra-sensitive sensors, designed to detect even the faintest neural activity, registered a minute flicker of electrical activity in Lyra's brain. It was barely perceptible, a ghost of a signal, too faint to be considered a revival, but undeniably present. a tiny spark in the face of overwhelming darkness. The council elder, his light patterns shifting with impatience, dismissed the reading with a casual wave of his appendage. Meaningless data, lingering echoes from the neural dampening field. Do not be swayed by sentimentality, Physician Xyla. Maintain objectivity. Mira, sensing the brief flicker, the almost imperceptible shift in Lyra's energy, redoubled her efforts. She closed her eyes, focusing her empathic connection with Lyra, visualizing her neural pathways reconnecting, firing with renewed energy, a delicate web of light against the darkness. Despite Mira's desperate efforts, Lyra's body temperature continued to drop, the numbers on the monitor scrolling downwards with grim inevitability. Her metabolic function was shutting down, her tiny body succumbing to the cold embrace of death. Anthony, his mind racing, desperately searching for any solution, any glimmer of hope, remembered a human medical technique for treating hypothermia. Mira, what about a warm fluid infusion, like they do for humans with hypothermia, to raise her body temperature? Xyla, his optical sensors flickering between Mira and the monitors, saw the logic in Anthony's suggestion. He moved with sudden purpose, overriding safety protocols and modifying a Voxari protocol to create a compatible warm fluid infusion, adjusting the nutrient balance and osmotic pressure to suit Lyra's hybrid physiology. The warm fluid infusion began, the clear liquid flowing slowly into Lyra's veins. But the response was minimal. Her vital signs remained critically low, the numbers on the monitors stubbornly refusing to budge. The faint electrical activity in her brain remained a mere flicker, a dying ember. Mira, exhausted beyond measure, her body aching, her throat raw, her heart breaking, began to sing a different song, a human song filled with shared memories and love for Lyra. It was a song she had sung to Lyra every night since she was born, a song about stars and dreams, and the unbreakable bond between a mother and her child. She hoped, desperately, that the familiar melody, the weight of her love, would trigger a deeper emotional response, a spark of recognition that could reignite Lyra's fading flame. A single tear, impossibly small and perfect, rolled down Lyra's cheek. And, simultaneously, a previously undetectable biological marker, a complex protein unique to human maternal bonding, appeared in her bloodstream, a sign of a dormant healing response, a key unlocking a door that had been thought forever sealed. The council elder, witnessing the tear and the sudden appearance of the biological marker, became visibly alarmed. His bioluminescent patterns pulsed erratically. Halt! Cease all interventions immediately. This is unprecedented. We cannot risk unforeseen consequences. Isolate the subject. Xyla, his optical sensors wide with a mixture of awe and apprehension, faced a critical decision. Obey the council elder's orders and abandon Lyra to her fate, or continue to support Mira's desperate efforts and risk further defying authority, potentially jeopardizing his career, his reputation, everything he had worked for. Mira, holding Lyra close, her voice barely a whisper, her eyes pleading, looked directly at Xyla. She's still here. I can feel her. Don't give up on her now. A long, sustained tone, the death knell of a failing system, filled the sterile bay. Mira's breath hitched, a sob caught in her throat. Her grip tightened on Lyra's impossibly small hand, the only warmth she could feel in the frigid room. Xyla's optical sensors dimmed further, a gesture mirroring human sorrow. He opened his mouth to speak, to offer platitudes he no longer believed, but the words died unspoken. Then, a flicker, a faint, almost imperceptible twitch in the smooth line of the vital signs monitor. Gone as quickly as it appeared. Xyla drew in a sharp breath. "Continue monitoring," he commanded, his voice sharper than before, cutting through the heavy silence. A council elder's voice boomed through the comm system, amplified by the small space. "Dr. Xyla, your intervention threshold has been reached. Cease all non-essential functions. Prepare for termination protocols." The elder's holographic image flickered into existence above the console, a stern Voxari, with intricate bioluminescent patterns denoting high rank. Xyla met the elder's gaze, his own senses narrowing slightly. "I respectfully disagree, Elder Theron. I am detecting a faint biological marker. I order continued monitoring. Insubordination, Doctor. The child is beyond saving. Do not waste valuable resources on sentimental gestures." Elder Theron's image pulsed with disapproval. "I am overriding your command. Shut down the monitoring equipment remotely." Lights flickered on the console as Elder Theron attempted to seize control. Xyla's fingers danced across the panel, activating a pre-programmed failsafe. "That will not be possible, Elder. I have implemented a localized override protocol. Remote shutdown is disabled." A junior medic, a young Voxari with iridescent blue markings, approached Xyla hesitantly. "Doctor, with all due respect, are we not defying the Council? The repercussions could be significant, and the humans' methods are unscientific." Xyla turned, his gaze firm. "Medic Jaro, I understand your concerns." However, he gestured to the faint, intermittent blip on the monitor. "The data indicates a correlation, however slight, between the human's actions and the appearance of this unique biological marker. We have a scientific imperative to investigate further." Mira, oblivious to the political maneuvering, continued her vigil. She hummed a soft lullaby, a melody passed down through generations of human mothers, her fingers tracing patterns on Lyra's tiny skull. She closed her eyes, visualizing Lyra's brain, picturing the neural pathways, reconnecting, strengthening, firing with life. Anthony, his face etched with worry, frantically scrolled through datapads, searching for anything that might help. "Xyla," he said, his voice hoarse, "I found some human medical literature on neural regeneration. There are techniques, electrical stimulation, targeted therapies. Could any of this be adapted to your technology?" Xyla took the offered datapad, his optical sensors scanning the information rapidly. A flicker of interest crossed his face. Intriguing. Human medicine, while primitive in some respects, possesses a certain intuitive understanding of biological processes. Medic Jaro, adapt these techniques to the neural interface. Initiate low-level stimulation. The Voxari medical team worked with renewed focus, modifying their equipment based on Anthony's research. A faint hum filled the air as the neural interface activated. Then, a spike. The brain activity monitor registered a significant increase, and a new related biological marker appeared alongside the first. Elder Theron's holographic image reappeared, his voice imbued with fury. "Dr. Xyla, explain this reckless experimentation. I demand an immediate explanation for the increased neural activity and the appearance of this new biological marker." Xyla met the elder's gaze unflinchingly. "Elder Theron, I propose a controlled experiment. We will isolate the infant in a sterile environment, then introduce the human mother in a controlled manner. We will monitor her vital signs and biological markers with maximum precision. This will provide us with definitive scientific data. Elder Theron hesitated, his anger warring with his scientific curiosity. Very well, Doctor, but I will be monitoring this experiment closely. Any further deviation from established protocols will be met with severe consequences. The holographic image vanished. The Voxari medical team prepared the isolation chamber, a transparent enclosure designed to eliminate all external stimuli. It was a sterile, cold environment, devoid of any comfort. Lyra was placed inside. Almost immediately, her condition deteriorated. The brain activity plummeted, the biological markers vanished, and her vital signs flatlined once more. The long, sustained tone returned, even more insistent this time. Mira watched, her heart shattering. No, no, Lyra, please. The chamber door hissed open, and Mira, her face pale but resolute, entered. She reached for Lyra, her touch gentle, her voice a soft whisper. Mama's here, little one. I'm here. For a fleeting moment, Lyra's vital signs flickered, a brief surge of activity before plateauing once more. Xyla, his senses focused on Mira, detected a unique energy signature emanating from her body, a complex waveform unlike anything he had ever seen. It correlated precisely with the brief improvement in Lyra's condition. Elder Theron's voice crackled through the comm system. Doctor, I am detecting an anomalous energy signature. It is likely a miscalibration of the sensors. Disregard it. But Xyla couldn't disregard it. The data was undeniable. Mira, her face drawn with exhaustion, began to tremble. Her emotional distress was affecting the energy signature, causing it to fluctuate erratically. Lyra's vital signs mirrored the instability, a feedback loop of despair. Anthony, sensing Mira's distress, rushed to her side. He wrapped his arms around her, holding her close, whispering words of comfort and encouragement. It's okay, Mira. You're doing everything you can. I'm here. We're here. The energy signature stabilized, but it was too late. Lyra's body began to reject the Voxari fluid infusions. Her skin turned cold, her breathing shallow and ragged. Her internal systems began to shut down, one by one. Then, silence. The flat line, a continuous, unbroken tone that echoed the emptiness in Mira's heart. Mira broke down, her body racked with sobs. No, my baby. I failed you. Xyla stood frozen, his optical sensors narrowed, his internal processes racing. He was at a crossroads, defy the council, risk his career, his reputation, everything he had worked for, or declare Lyra dead and end the suffering, the unscientific path, or the cold, hard logic of Voxari medicine. His gaze flickered from the lifeless form of the child to the broken figure of the human mother. The choice, he realized, was no longer his. It was Lyra's. Initiate immediate resuscitation, Xyla commanded, his voice cutting through the sterile air. Mother Mira will remain in direct physical contact. A ripple of hesitation passed through the Voxari medics. Optical sensors flickered. Dr. Xyla, one began, his vocalizer modulating with concern. The Council's directive is superseded by the data. Xyla interrupted, his multifaceted eyes locking on to the medic. We detected a unique energy signature. It warrants further investigation, and right now it warrants immediate action. Proceed. Anthony stepped forward, placing a hand on Mira's trembling shoulder. He's right, love. They know what they're doing. Stay strong, Mira. Lyra needs you. He met Zyla's gaze, a silent understanding passing between them. "Thank you, Doctor." Mira nodded, her face streaked with tears, and leaned closer to Lyra, her fingers interlacing with the child's tiny hand. The Voxari medics, with practiced efficiency, resumed their work, their delicate manipulators reattaching biomonitors and initiating a gentle flow of oxygen. "Lyra," Mira whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "My little star, don't you leave us. Mama's here. I'm right here. Fight, Lyra. Fight for me. Fight for your father. We love you so much." Her tears fell silently onto the sterile fabric beneath Lyra's small form. On the monitors, the flat line persisted for an agonizing eternity. Then a flicker, a tiny erratic blip on the cardiac readout. Another. The numbers remained critically low, but they were no longer zero. A minimal but measurable response. A harsh voice echoed from the entrance. "What is the meaning of this blatant disregard for council directives?" The council elder, his bioluminescent patterns flaring crimson with fury, strode into the medical bay, his retinue of guards flanking him. Zyla turned to face him, his expression calm but resolute. "Elder," he said, his voice steady, "we are observing a significant scientific anomaly. The infant is responding to the mother's presence in a manner inconsistent with established medical parameters." The elder scoffed. "An emotional fluke, a desperate grasp at false hope. Terminate this charade immediately, Doctor. Cease all life support measures." "I cannot comply, Elder," Zyla stated, his voice firm. "My Hippocratic oath compels me to preserve life. The data suggests a potential for recovery, however slim. I must investigate." "Insubordination!" the elder roared, his bioluminescence intensifying. "You risk your license, Doctor, your reputation, social ostracization. Is this sentimentality worth sacrificing your entire career?" Zyla met the elder's furious gaze without flinching. "The pursuit of knowledge, the preservation of life, these are worth any sacrifice, Elder. My focus is on the patient." He turned back to Lyra, his attention unwavering. As Mira continued to pour her love and hope into Lyra, the energy signature, detected by the Voxari sensors, began to fluctuate wildly. It intensified dramatically, becoming a swirling vortex of bioenergetic activity around Mira, but it also became increasingly erratic, the waveforms jagged and unstable. Lyra's vital signs, initially showing a slight improvement, began to exhibit signs of strain. Her heart rate accelerated, then became irregular. Her respiratory function became labored. The monitors flashed warnings. "Doctor," a medic called out, his voice full of worry. "The infant's body is showing signs of trouble. Her levels are rising, then falling. It appears she is being overwhelmed." Zyla studied the readouts, his multifaceted eyes narrowing in concentration. "I concur. This is a bioenergetic overload. The infant's system is unable to process the sheer intensity of the energy emanating from the mother." Anthony, his brow furrowed with concern, stepped closer to Mira. "Honey," he said softly, "I know you're trying your hardest, but is there any way to regulate it, control the flow?" He paused, then, recalling ancient human practices, added, "Like grounding yourself? Finding a center?" Mira looked at him, her eyes wide with panic. I don't know how. I'm just feeling. I'm just loving her." She tried to focus, to calm herself, but the fear for Lyra's life was overwhelming. Her energy signature spiked again, even more violently. Anthony gently took Mira's hands in his. Close your eyes, love. Breathe. Remember what we talked about? Imagine roots growing down from your feet, anchoring you to the earth. Feel the energy flowing through you, but not controlling you. Let it flow, but guide it. Be the channel, not the flood. Mira closed her eyes, her face contorted in concentration. She took a deep, shuddering breath, and another. At first, nothing happened. Her energy signature continued to fluctuate wildly. Then, slowly, gradually, the jagged waveforms began to smooth out. The vortex of energy around her softened, becoming less chaotic, more focused. On the monitors, Lyra's vital signs began to stabilize. Her heart rate slowed to a more sustainable level. Her breathing became less labored. The warning alarms subsided. She was still critical, but she was no longer on the brink of collapse. The council elder, his face a mask of barely suppressed fury, watched the stabilization with grudging disbelief. He remained silent, his arms crossed tightly over his chest. Xylar turned to address the room, his voice a mixture of relief and concern. "A temporary success," he announced. "We have managed to stabilize the infant's condition for now. However, a new complication has emerged. We must now understand and manage the mother's unique energy signature to prevent bioenergetic overload. This will require further investigation." Lyra's tiny chest rose and fell with the rhythm of the respirator, a fragile dance between life and the advanced technology that sustained it. Dr. Xylar watched, his optical sensors narrowed in concentration, a subtle furrow etched into the smooth planes of his face. The monitors displayed a precarious stability, a plateau rather than a climb. He turned to Ilara, a junior medic known for her sensitivity to bioenergetic fields. "Medic Ilara, I am assigning you to Mother Mira's case. Your primary objective is to monitor and analyze her bioenergetic signature. Understand its fluctuations, its complexities. But be warned," Xylar's voice was low. "This is uncharted territory. Proceed with caution." Ilara nodded, a flicker of apprehension in her multifaceted eyes. "Understood, Doctor. I will proceed with all due diligence." Later, positioned at a console overlooking Lyra's incubator, Ilara focused her senses on Mira. The human woman sat beside the child, her hand resting gently on the incubator's surface. Ilara activated her bioscanners. The readings flooded her console, a cascade of interwoven frequencies, a symphony of biological data unlike anything she had ever encountered. A warmth resonated deep within her own biofield, a maternal energy so potent it was almost overwhelming. How can one being generate such a complex field, she wondered, a mix of awe and confusion swirling within her. Mira, driven by a love that seemed to defy the sterile logic of the medical bay, agreed to the constant monitoring. "If it helps Lyra," she said, her voice raspy with exhaustion, "then I'll do anything." Anthony stood beside her, his hand resting on her shoulder, a silent promise of support. "We're in this together, love," he murmured, his gaze unwavering. Throughout the day, Ilara meticulously recorded the fluctuations in Mira's energy signature. A tightening of her jaw, a furrow in her brow, each subtle shift in emotion registered as a dramatic spike or dip on the monitors. The data was undeniable. Mira's emotional state directly impacted her energy output. Fear caused a chaotic surge, love a gentle harmonic resonance. Xylar studied Ilara's findings, his expression thoughtful. "It appears," he said, his voice tinged with a hint of wonder, "that we are observing a feedback loop. Mother Mira's emotions directly impact the child's vital signs, and conversely, the child's condition influences the mother's energy signature. A symbiotic relationship unlike any I have previously encountered. But the fragile hope was soon threatened. A communication chimed, displaying the stern visage of a council elder. "Dr. Zyler," the elder's voice boomed, "the council demands daily reports on the hybrid infant's condition. Furthermore, we are restricting resources allocated to this unorthodox study. Focus on proven methods, Doctor. Sentimentality will not save this child." Zyler's eyebrows furrowed. He ended the communication, a flicker of defiance in his eyes. He would not abandon Lyra, not when there was still a chance. "Medic Ilara," he said, turning back to the console, "I believe it is time we explored more proactive measures. I propose biofeedback training for Mother Mira. If she can learn to consciously control her emotional state, she may be able to stabilize her energy signature and, consequently, the child's condition." Mira, desperate for any solution, agreed. But the training was grueling. Seated before a complex array of senses, she struggled to quiet her racing thoughts, to control the surge of emotions that threatened to overwhelm her. Frustration mounted. Tears welled in her eyes. "I can't do this," she whispered, her voice choked with self-doubt. "I'm failing her." Anthony knelt before her, taking her hands in his. "You're not failing anyone, Mira. You're doing everything you can. Just breathe. Visualize Lyra, healthy and strong. Feel her warmth, her love. You can do this." He guided her through meditation techniques, helping her to focus her mind, to visualize Lyra's well-being. Slowly, gradually, Mira began to gain control. The chaotic surges in her energy signature subsided, replaced by a steady, harmonic flow. Ilara watched in amazement as the monitors displayed a tangible shift. Lyra's vitals stabilized further, her breathing becoming more regular. The child was responding. Inspired by Mira's progress, Zyler began designing a specialized bioresonance chamber, a controlled environment where Mira's energy signature could be amplified and focused, directly targeting Lyra's weakened system. He pored over schematics, his mind racing with possibilities. But their progress was once again threatened. The council elder contacted Zyler, his voice cold and disapproving. "Dr. Zyler, the bioresonance chamber project is deemed too risky, too unorthodox. I am ordering its immediate shutdown. Cease all work on this folly." Zyler's defiance hardened into grit. He would not be deterred. "I understand your concerns, Elder," he replied, his voice carefully neutral. "But I believe this project holds the key to the child's survival." "I request to proceed," the elder said, calm. "Request declined. Halt the project now, or be penalized." The link shut off. Zyler turned to Ilara and Anthony, his expression grim. "We continue," he said, his voice low but firm. "But we must work in secret." Under the cover of darkness, they continued the chamber's construction, scavenging resources, rerouting power lines, working tirelessly to bring Zyler's vision to life. Then a new crisis emerged. Ilara, while analyzing Mira's energy signature with even greater precision, discovered a previously undetected component, a low-frequency oscillation that in high concentrations could be harmful to Lyra. "Doctor," she said, her voice grave, "I have detected a potentially harmful frequency within Mother Mira's energy signature. It is faint, But if amplified within the chamber, it could negate any positive effects. Xyla's face paled. He realized the need for a targeted energy filtering system, a way to remove the harmful frequency while preserving the beneficial components. But how? It was Anthony who provided the answer. "Back on Earth," he said, his eyes lighting up, "we have cultural practices involving crystals and specific geometric patterns used for energy filtering. I don't know the science behind it, but maybe there's something there." Xyla, intrigued, delved into human cultural databases, studying ancient traditions, esoteric practices. He found patterns, resonances, harmonic frequencies that seemed to align with the principles of energy manipulation. He integrated these human concepts into the final design of the bioresonance chamber, incorporating crystal resonators and geometric filters to cleanse and purify Mira's energy. As he finalized the schematics, a look of awe and respect washed over his face. He was witnessing the power of human ingenuity, the wisdom of ancient traditions. Perhaps, he thought, there was more to life than cold, hard data. The alarms blared, a discordant symphony of failure echoing through the hidden lab. Lyra's tiny form, visible through the chamber's shimmering field, convulsed. "What's happening?" Mira cried, her voice strained, her eyes locked on the monitors displaying Lyra's plummeting vitals. Ilara, her optical sensors flashing frantically, worked at her console. "Harmful frequency overload. The chamber is amplifying a low-frequency component within your energy signature, Mother Mira. It's overwhelming Lyra's system." Xyla, his face etched with horror, banged his hand on the control panel. "Chamber shutdown." Override sequence initiated. The panel flashed red, displaying an error message. "Malfunction. I can't cut the energy flow." He spared a glance at Ilara. "Can you reroute power?" "Negative, Xyla. The system is locked. I warned you this chamber was untested, dangerous." He ignored her, his focus solely on the failing systems. "Damn it!" He tried another sequence, his delicate manipulators flying across the console. Still nothing. The hidden lab, carved into the rock beneath the Voxari medical facility, felt smaller, more claustrophobic, with each passing second. The walls, lined with humming conduits and hastily assembled equipment, seemed to close in. The air crackled with uncontrolled energy. This chamber, a desperate gamble, a secret project fueled by Xyla's growing conviction and Antony's unwavering support, was now a death trap. They had skirted regulations, requisitioned restricted materials, and defied the council elders' authority, all for this. Weeks earlier, "Are you certain about this, Xyla?" Ilara had asked, her voice infused with concern as they worked on the chamber's framework. "The council elder will not look kindly on such unorthodox methods." Xyla had paused, his bioluminescent skin patterns dimming slightly. "I am certain that we cannot stand idly by while Lyra fades. Our methods have failed her. We must explore every possibility, even if it means challenging established norms." Anthony, meticulously calibrating a crystal resonance array, had added, "He's right, Ilara. We can't just give up. This chamber, it's our best chance." Ilara sighed, her optical sensors dimming further. "I fear the consequences, Xyla, for all of us." Xyla placed a hand on her slender arm. "I understand your fear, Ilara, but I believe in the potential for saving Lyra, and I believe in you." The memory faded as Anthony watched Mira, her face contorted in pain, her body trembling. He had to do something. He had to remember. He paced frantically, his mind racing. Crystals. The key was the crystals. He had spent weeks scouring human databases, searching for the right materials, the right configurations. He had explained it all to Mira, trying to bridge the gap between Voxari science and human belief. Days before the chamber activation, Antony held up a multifaceted crystal, its facets catching the light. This, Mira, is quartz. Humans have believed for millennia that it can filter and amplify energy. Different arrangements, different cuts, different types of crystal. They all affect the flow. Mira, her brow furrowed in concentration, reached out and touched the crystal. So it's like a lens for energy. In a way, yes. Human folklore is full of stories about using crystals to heal, to protect, to focus the mind. It's not science, not in the Voxari sense, but there's something there, something about resonance and vibration. He showed her a complex geometric pattern etched onto a metal plate. And this is a Sri Yantra. It's a mandala, a symbol of cosmic unity. The idea is that by focusing on this pattern, you can harmonize your own energy with the universe. Mira had smiled weakly. So, you're saying I should think happy thoughts and hold a rock? Antony had taken her hand. I'm saying that your love for Lyra is a powerful force, Mira, and these are tools to help you focus that power, to filter out the noise, and send only the purest energy to our daughter, the yantra, the arrangement. It came to him in a rush, a forgotten memory surfacing from the depths of his mind. A specific configuration designed to filter out harmful frequencies. Xyla, he shouted, his voice hoarse. The crystals. We need to reconfigure the crystal array. There's a specific arrangement to filter out low frequencies. Xyla, still struggling with the controls, glanced at him, his expression skeptical. There's no time! And I don't understand what you're talking about. Trust me. It's the key. The central crystal, rotate it counterclockwise, then shift the surrounding crystals into a tetrahedral pattern. It'll dampen the low-frequency resonance. Xyla hesitated, then, seeing the desperation in Antony's eyes, he barked orders at Ilara. Ilara, reconfigure the crystal array according to Antony's instructions. Quickly! Ilara, her senses still focused on the failing systems, hesitated only a moment before complying, her manipulators moving with practiced speed. Mira gasped, her body arching in pain. She could feel Lyra's distress, the overwhelming surge of unfiltered energy flooding her tiny system. Lyra, I'm here. I'm here. Xyla, finally realizing the override was impossible, threw a switch, severing the chamber's connection to the main power grid. The shimmering field flickered and died. Silence descended, broken only by the frantic beeping of Lyra's life support systems. But it was too late. The damage was done. Lyra's vital signs flatlined. Ilara stared at the monitors in disbelief. I don't understand. It should have worked. The crystals, they dampened the frequency. Anthony rushed to the chamber, his heart pounding in his chest. He reached out and touched Lyra's cold, still hand. No, Mira whispered, her voice broken. No, no, no. Suddenly the lab doors burst open. Voxari guards, clad in crystalline armor, stormed inside, their weapons raised. Behind them stood the council elder, his face a mask of cold fury. Xyla, the elder's voice boomed, you have defied the council, violated protocol, and endangered the life of this child. Your actions are a disgrace. He gestured towards Lyra. That thing is beyond saving. Remove it from this facility. Immediately. The faint hope sparked by Lyra's fleeting improvement was extinguished by a voice cold enough to freeze starlight. Council Elder to Medical Command. I am overriding current treatment protocols for Subject Lyra. Transfer the hybrid infant to Isolation Unit 7, Level 4. Prepare for immediate observation and subsequent termination of life support. The order, amplified through the medical bay's comm system, sliced through the sterile air. Mira's breath hitched, her hand, still intertwined with Lyra's tiny fingers, tightened involuntarily. Beside her, Antony's mind focused, the muscles in his neck standing out like taut cables. They exchanged a horrified glance, understanding blooming in their eyes like a poisonous flower. Termination. The word echoed in the sterile space, a death knell for their child. They weren't meant to hear it. The Council Elder, a Voxari of advanced age and chilling detachment, had assumed they were too inconsequential to warrant discretion. He stood with his retinue of aides just outside the observation window, his optical sensors gleaming with cold authority. The bioresonance readings, a younger aide stammered, glancing nervously at the elder. They showed a slight improvement, insignificant fluctuations. The elder dismissed, his voice a low, grating hum. Sentimentality has no place in resource allocation. The infant is a drain. Its hybrid biology is unstable, its prognosis terminal. We cannot afford to waste resources on a lost cause. Prepare the isolation unit. Mira felt a surge of adrenaline, cold and sharp. Lost cause? Her daughter? No, never. Antony squeezed her hand, his touch a silent promise of action. They had to get Lyra out. Meanwhile, across the sprawling complex, Dr. Zyla stood in stunned silence as two Voxari security officers entered his quarters. Zyla, the lead officer stated, his voice devoid of emotion. By order of the Council Elder, you are confined to quarters, effective immediately. All research privileges are suspended. You are to have no contact with outside personnel. House arrest. Zyla's optical sensors dimmed in frustration. He knew the Elder's methods. Isolate, discredit, eliminate. He was being sidelined, his research deemed a threat, but he wouldn't be silent. Back in the medical bay, Antony subtly activated his comm implant. "Elora, do you read?" he whispered, his voice tight with urgency. A moment of static, then Ilara's voice, strained but clear. "Taylor, I read you. What is it?" "They're taking Lyra," Anthony said, his voice cracking with emotion. "To Isolation Unit 7. They're going to terminate life support. A sharp intake of breath on Ilara's end. I can't directly interfere, Taylor." The Council. "I'm not asking you to start a war, Ilara," Anthony pleaded. "Just give us a window, a diversion, anything to buy us some time." A long pause. "I understand," Ilara said finally, her voice barely a whisper. "I'll see what I can do. But be warned, Taylor. This is a dangerous game." In a different sector of the medical facility, Ilara, her face etched with conflict, accessed the central security console. Her fingers danced across the holographic interface, rerouting patrol patterns, disabling sensor grids in a carefully calculated sequence. It was a delicate dance, a tightrope walk between loyalty and conscience. She initiated a Level 2 biohazard alert in Sector Gamma, a fabricated outbreak requiring immediate quarantine. Security forces would be diverted, creating the chaos Mira and Antony needed. Mira and Antony moved swiftly, slipping out of the medical bay unnoticed amidst the growing commotion. They navigated the sterile corridors, relying on Antony's familiarity with human analogous security systems, a legacy of the facility's early collaboration with Earth scientists. He knew the blind spots, the maintenance tunnels, the emergency access points. Xyla, confined to his quarters, paced restlessly. He couldn't directly intervene, but he wasn't powerless. He activated a hidden research terminal, a relic from his early days, shielded from council oversight. His fingers flew across the interface, accessing encrypted data files, compiling irrefutable evidence of Mira's bioresonance and its life-sustaining effect on Lyra. He transmitted the data to a select group of sympathetic council members, bypassing the Elder's control, planting seeds of doubt in their minds. Mira and Anthony reached Level 4, the isolation wing. The air grew colder, the atmosphere more oppressive. They found Isolation Unit 7 at the end of a long, silent corridor. Inside, Lyra lay motionless, her tiny body dwarfed by the sterile environment. But something was wrong, terribly wrong. Lyra's vital signs were plummeting. The isolation unit, designed to eliminate all external influences, was suffocating her. The very environment meant to protect was killing her. A transparent energy shield shimmered around the unit, preventing any physical contact. Mira pressed her hand against the cold surface, tears streaming down her face. "Lyra," she whispered, her voice choked with emotion. "Mama's here. I'm here." But Lyra didn't respond. Anthony ran his hand along the unit's control panel, his brow furrowed in concentration. "Human engineering," he muttered, tracing the familiar lines of the interface. "There's got to be a way in." His fingers danced across the panel, accessing hidden diagnostic menus. "I knew it," he exclaimed softly. "A human override protocol, designed for emergency situations." As Anthony worked, Xyla's encrypted message reached its intended recipients. Council member Valerius, a respected scientist known for his impartiality, reviewed the data with growing concern. The evidence was compelling, undeniable. The suppression of Mira's bioresonance was actively harming Lyra, triggering a cascade of system failures. Mira activated the override protocol. A holographic display flickered to life, demanding a code. "Authorization required," a synthesized voice intoned. "Damn it," Anthony cursed softly. A failsafe. Then a flicker of memory, a late-night conversation, months ago, during Mira's pregnancy. "They're using human tech for the isolation units," Anthony had explained. "But they've added their own layers of security. There's a human override, but it requires a code. A complex algorithm based on, well, you're not going to believe this, a lullaby." Flashback. Anthony, sitting beside Mira as she rested, chuckled softly. Apparently some old school engineer thought it would be a clever way to encode sensitive information. He based the code on a specific sequence within a human lullaby. Something about emotional resonance and subconscious recall. A lullaby? Mira had asked, amused. "Seriously?" "Seriously," Anthony had confirmed. He said it was the ultimate failsafe. Only someone with a deep, emotional connection to the code would be able to unlock it. End flashback. Mira closed her eyes, focusing on the memory, on the melody, on the love that flowed through her veins. She took a deep breath and began to sing. Her voice, soft and clear, filled the sterile corridor. "Hush, little darling. Don't say a word. Mama's gonna buy you a mockingbird." As she sang, her voice trembling with emotion. A series of numbers appeared on the holographic display, corresponding to the notes of the lullaby. The override activated, the energy shield flickered and died, and the isolation unit hissed open. Back on the council level, doubt spread like a virus. Council member Anya, a strong advocate for hybrid integration, voiced her concerns. Elder, the data presented by Dr. Zyla is compelling, and now reports are coming in of a security breach in the isolation wing. Perhaps a re-evaluation of this case is warranted. Mira reached into the isolation unit, her heart pounding in her chest. She lifted Lyra into her arms, cradling her close. But Lyra remained limp, her skin cold, her breathing shallow. The isolation unit had done its damage. Alara's voice crackled over Antony's comm. "Taylor, the diversion is exhausted. Security sweep imminent. You need to get out of there. Now." As if on cue, alarms blared through the facility. Red lights flashed, bathing the corridor in an ominous glow. Zyla, defying his house arrest, accessed the facility's emergency broadcast system. His voice, calm but firm, echoed through the corridors. "This is Dr. Zyla. I am overriding council protocols to ensure the survival of infant Lyra. I request the assistance of all medical personnel who value scientific integrity and compassion. The suppression of human bioresonance is causing irreparable harm. I repeat, the suppression of human bioresonance. The facility erupted in chaos. Security forces loyal to the council elder clashed with medical staff sympathetic to Zyla's cause. Mira and Antony, with Lyra cradled in Mira's arms, raced through the corridors, pursued by security officers. They reached a dead end, trapped between the pursuing guards and a reinforced security door. Just as they were about to be overwhelmed, a shimmering portal opened in front of them. Zyla stepped through, his face grim. "Come with me," he said, his voice urgent. "There's no time to explain." He activated a small device on his wrist, and in a flash of light and disorientation, Mira, Antony, and Lyra were gone, teleported to a secure, hidden location outside the facility, leaving the chaos behind. The numbers flickered on the archaic monitor, each descending digit a hammer blow against Mira's fragile hope. Zyla's optical sensors, usually a cool, assessing blue, were dimmed with what she could only interpret as pity. "Her vitals are critically unstable, Mother Mira. The shielding, while necessary, has prolonged the separation beyond what her system can tolerate. The air in the former research outpost was thin, stale with the metallic tang of disuse and the faint, underlying scent of ozone. It clung to the back of Mira's throat, a constant reminder of their desperate circumstances. Zyla turned from the console, his delicate manipulators hovering over a series of inactive medical ports. This location, it was a preliminary research station, abandoned decades ago. It lacks the necessary equipment for long-term stabilization. We are operating with significant limitations. Mira barely registered the words. Her focus was entirely on Lyra, cradled in her arms. The child's skin, usually a delicate blend of human pink and Voxari silver, was pale, almost translucent. Instinct took over. Mira began to hum, a soft, wordless lullaby her own mother had sung to her. She stroked Lyra's cheek, her touch feather light. "Mama's here, little one. Mama's right here." Zyla watched, his head tilted slightly. He reactivated a smaller sensor array, focusing it on Lyra. "I am detecting a faint re-emergence of your bioresonance, Mother Mira, but it is not sufficient. Her system is failing to respond adequately." He paused, his optical sensors focusing on a specific readout. Fascinating. It appears her hybrid physiology requires a specific combination of lipids to fully utilize your bioresonance. Lipids normally provided through your breast milk. The realization hung heavy in the air. They were in a hidden outpost, hunted by the Council, and Lyra needed something they couldn't readily provide. A flicker of memory crossed Xyla's face, a ghost of a younger self. Flashback, a brightly lit laboratory. A younger Xyla, his optical sensors gleaming with excitement, peers into a microscope. Around him, other Voxari researchers meticulously analyze data streams. He straightens, addressing the team. The human Voxari hybrid presents unique challenges. Their metabolic requirements are unprecedented. We must understand the intricacies of their biological needs if we are to ensure their survival. The flashback dissolved, leaving Xyla's face etched with a dogged persistence. Suddenly, a harsh alert blared from the comms panel. Xyla moved swiftly, activating the receiver. The voice of a council elder, cold and unforgiving, filled the small space. To all units, Dr. Xyla is hereby declared a rogue element in violation of council directives. He is aiding and abetting a human female and a genetically aberrant hybrid. Locate and apprehend Xyla and the hybrid immediately. They are to be considered traitors to the Voxari collective. The message cut off, leaving a chilling silence in its wake. Mira felt a surge of fear, not for herself, but for Lyra. They were running out of time, and now the entire Voxari fleet was hunting them. Anthony, who had been silently monitoring the situation, stepped forward. There has to be a way to synthesize those lipids. What equipment do we have? He moved towards a dusty console, his fingers already flying across the archaic controls. This outpost, it's aged, but it may have things we can reuse. Elsewhere, on a modern starship, Elara stood very still as the leader's words filled up the bridge. Her face was impassive, but inside a war raged. Could she anonymously provide assistance? Risk everything she had worked for? Back at the outpost, Xyla detected a faint energy signature on his long-range sensors. A security patrol is approaching. They have detected the outpost's faint energy signature. We have limited time. Mira's gaze swept the immediate area beyond the outpost's entrance. Her eyes fell on a cluster of unfamiliar flora, their leaves a deep, vibrant purple. An instinct, deep and primal, stirred within her. That plant, the leaves. I don't know why, but I feel like it might have something Lyra needs. Anthony looked at her, his expression a mixture of hope and concern. Are you sure, Mira? It could be poisonous. I don't know for sure, she admitted, her voice trembling. But I feel it. Lyra needs something natural, something real. Time seemed to compress as Anthony worked feverishly on the repurposed equipment. Finally he stepped back, wiping sweat from his brow. I've synthesized a lipid compound based on Xyla's analysis. It's not perfect, but it's the best I can do with this junk. Xyla administered a small dose to Lyra. The child's reaction was immediate and terrifying. Her body convulsed. Her skin flushed crimson, and her breathing became shallow and ragged. "She's rejecting it!" Xyla exclaimed, his manipulators working frantically to stabilize her. The synthesized compound is not compatible. She needs the natural source. Mira stared at Lyra, her face contorted with fear and exhaustion. I can't lose her. I can't. Tears streamed down her face, blurring her vision. I don't know what to do anymore. Anthony wrapped his arms around her, pulling her close. Hey, look at me. You're doing everything you can. We're going to figure this out. We always do. Siler, his optical sensors focused on the readings from the flora sample, spoke with a newfound urgency. I have identified the exact molecular structure of the required lipids. The local flora contains a near-identical profile. Extraction is feasible. Anthony's face hardened. I'll go. I'll get the plants. Mira pulled back, her eyes wide with alarm. No, it's too dangerous. The security patrol. We don't have a choice, Mira, Anthony said, his voice firm. I know how to move unseen. I'll be careful. He kissed her forehead, his touch lingering. I'll be back. As Anthony slipped out into the twilight, armed with a makeshift harvesting tool, Lyra's condition plummeted. Her heart rate spiked, then flatlined. Xyla worked frantically, his manipulators a blur of motion. Mira watched, her heart shattering with each beep of the failing monitor. Outside, Anthony moved with practiced stealth, his human senses honed by years of navigating dangerous environments. He reached the cluster of purple-leaved plants, his fingers closing around a handful of stems. Suddenly, a harsh beam of light cut through the darkness. A Voxari security patrol, clad in gleaming armor, stood silhouetted against the outpost's entrance. They had him. Back inside, Lyra's monitor went silent. The comm unit in Mira's hand crackled, spitting static before a Voxari security officer's voice, cold and clipped, filled the medical bay. Mother Mira, this is Security Officer Jen Rock. Your mate, Anthony Taylor, was apprehended attempting to re-enter the outpost with restricted flora. The flora has been confiscated. Further attempts to obtain controlled items will result in stronger sanctions. The signal ceased abruptly, replaced by the soft hum of the corn. Mira's breath caught. Her gaze went to Lyra, small and still in the incubator, then to the comm. Anthony lost. The plants lost. Hope, so faint, faded completely. She squeezed her eyes shut, fighting back a sob that threatened to tear through her. But Anthony, he wouldn't give up easily. He was stubborn like that. A flicker of movement caught her eye. On the edge of the incubator, she saw a small crumpled leaf, a piece of the flora, tucked into the seam of Anthony's discarded glove. He'd managed to hide some. A tiny, desperate act of love. Lyra's monitor emitted a series of rapid, high-pitched beeps. Dr. Xyla, who had been monitoring the situation from a nearby console, rushed to the incubator. His optical sensors flickered rapidly as he scanned the readouts. Mother Mira, the infant's lipid cascade is failing. Her systems are shutting down. We must act quickly. Mira clutched the glove with the hidden flora. It wasn't much, but it was something. Dr. Xyla, can you extract the lipids from this? It's all we have left. Xyla examined the leaf, his delicate manipulators turning it over. The quantity is minimal, insufficient for standard extraction protocols. But his sensors focused on a small, antiquated nutrient distiller in the corner of the lab, a relic from the early days of the outpost. With significant modification and considerable risk, I might be able to adapt this equipment to perform a microlipid extraction. The process would be inefficient and potentially damaging to the equipment, but it is our only option. As Xyla began rerouting power conduits and calibrating the ancient distiller, his comm unit chirped. A private channel, his bioluminescent skin patterns pulsed with a faint, nervous energy. Xyla, this is Ilara. I am transmitting a secure data packet. It contains the exact molecular formula for the required lipids. along with synthesis instructions and a modified nutrient solution that will act as a temporary stabilizer. Use it now. Her voice was a hushed whisper, tinged with urgency. Xyla's optical senses widened. Elara, this is highly irregular. You are risking everything. The Council's actions are becoming increasingly concerning. Their focus on suppression, rather than understanding, is misguided. Your research, it holds the key, Xyla. I believe that now. You must help that child. A pause, then, even softer, and perhaps help us all. Xyla hesitated only a moment. He downloaded the data packet, his manipulators flying across the distiller's interface. He bypassed safety protocols, rerouted energy flows, pushing the ancient machine far beyond its design parameters. The air crackled with ozone. Finally, a small vial filled with a shimmering, opalescent fluid. He carefully drew it into a micro-injector. Mother Mira, prepare yourself. This is experimental. There is no guarantee of success. He administered the lipids to Lyra. The monitors displayed a brief spike in activity then. Nothing. Xyla adjusted the modified nutrient solution, carefully regulating the flow. Slowly, agonizingly slowly, Lyra's vital signs began to flicker back to life. Her heart rate stabilized, then her respiration. But her condition remained precarious, balanced on a knife's edge. Mira, her face etched with exhaustion and worry, resumed her vigil. She hummed a soft lullaby, her hand resting gently on Lyra's tiny chest. The warmth of her touch, the rhythm of her song, filled the sterile bay. She could feel it, a faint resonance, a connection rekindling between them. The bioresonance, Xyla had called it. Hope, fragile but persistent, bloomed again in her heart. Suddenly, a harsh alarm blared through the outpost. Xyla's communit shrieked. The voice of the council elder, amplified and distorted, filled the room. Elara, your treachery is revealed. Security forces, apprehend Elara, Xyla, and the hybrid infant. Immediately. Xyla's bioluminescent patterns flared with alarm. He grabbed Mira's arm. There is a hidden passage, an abandoned section of the outpost. It is our only chance. A passage? Where does it lead? Mira's voice was tight with fear, but her grip on Lyra's hand remained firm. Nowhere safe, I imagine, but it is a charm. The Council will not hesitate to eliminate the child. We must go. Mira met his gaze, her eyes filled with a fierce commitment. Then let's go. I'll face any danger to save my daughter. Elsewhere, in a stark interrogation room, Antony sat strapped to a chair. A Voxari security officer loomed over him. Where did you find the flora, human? Tell us the location of the source. Antony spat on the floor. Go to hell. Back at the council headquarters, Elara activated a series of emergency protocols, flooding the main corridors with smoke and disabling the security grid. Alarms blared, and chaos erupted. She bought them time. Precious, fleeting time. Xyla, Mira, and Lyra, cradled in Mira's arms, slipped into the hidden passage, the entrance sealed behind them, plunging them into absolute darkness. The air was thick with dust and the smell of decay. Crumbling structures loomed on either side, threatening to collapse. As they ventured deeper, Lyra's monitor emitted a series of frantic, discordant beeps. Mira's heart lurched. Xyla, what's happening? Xyla scanned the readouts, his optical sensors struggling in the dim light. Something is affecting her. Her vital signs are spiking. I can't say for sure. Outside, the defense team entered the central area of the base's infirmary. It was vacant. A deep murmur passed through the lead officer. They're gone. Secure the base. Initiate a Level 1 search. Find them. In the darkness of the passage, Lyra's tiny body convulsed. Her monitor screamed. An unseen presence pressed in on them, a cold, malevolent force. Xyla's optical sensors flared crimson. Neuroparasites, he announced, his voice tight with urgency. Native to this abandoned section, Lyra's weakened state has made her vulnerable. We must act immediately. The monitors confirmed his diagnosis. Lyra's vital signs were spiking erratically, the delicate neural pathways of her hybrid brain under assault. Mira, her face etched with worry, instinctively drew Lyra closer. A low hum emanated from her, almost imperceptible, yet Xyla's senses registered a subtle shift in the bioresonance surrounding the child. Unknowingly, guided only by her fierce maternal instinct, Mira was adapting her unique biosignature, creating a counterfrequency that disrupted the parasite's neural pathways. The frantic spiking on the monitors lessened, replaced by a more stable, though still precarious, rhythm. Incredible, Xyla murmured, his manipulators already working, scavenging through the abandoned section's forgotten equipment. He found a discarded sonic emitter, its purpose long obsolete, with a few modifications. And your frequency, Mother Mira. We might be able to target these parasites directly, working with focused intensity. Fueled by Mira's desperate hope, Xyla recalibrated the emitter, imbuing its sonic waves with the precise counterfrequency generated by Mira's bioresonance. He activated the device. A focused beam of energy washed over Lyra, invisible to the naked eye, but devastating to the parasites. Moments later, the monitors flatlined, not with death, but with the cessation of parasitic activity. They are gone, Xyla confirmed, relief washing over his features. But we are not safe here. We must reach the surface. He led them through the decaying corridors, the air thick with the stench of decay and forgotten technology. They stumbled upon an unused emergency exit, its activation panel corroded with age. Xyla bypassed the system, and with a hiss of escaping atmosphere, the door shuddered open, revealing a harsh alien landscape bathed in the pale light of a distant sun. The surface air was thin and cold, and Lyra, still fragile, shivered in Mira's arm. As they stumbled across the rocky terrain, Ilara, having evaded immediate capture, managed to reactivate a hidden comlink. Her voice, crackling with static, reached Anthony's ears. "Anthony, I have their location. Emergency, exit 7 Alpha, Sector 4. They need you. Now." Anthony, piloting a salvage transport, punched in the coordinates. He hurried to the meeting point, his heart filled with both hope and worry. But near the top, guards stopped him in his tracks. Ships descended, blocking his path, weapons charged. "Halt, unauthorized vessel!" A stern voice boomed over the comms. "Return to the outpost immediately. Your actions are in direct violation of Council directives." "I'm here to rescue my wife and child," Anthony shouted back, his voice filled with desperation. "They're in danger." "They need medical attention." Lyra's condition was worsening, the stress of the situation taking its toll. Her breathing became shallow, her skin pale. Mira cradled her close, whispering words of comfort, but even her unwavering love seemed unable to stem the tide. Seeing Lyra's distress, Xyla made a desperate decision. Using a secure channel, he transmitted a comprehensive data package to a high-ranking council representative, a woman known for her intellectual curiosity and open-mindedness. The package contained irrefutable evidence of the human maternal factor, Lyra's case history, and the scientific breakthroughs they had achieved. The council liaison, Worry Clear, as she checked the data, alerted the guards. "Hold back," she stated, her voice steady and commanding. "Stop any forceful moves. I am ordering a full investigation into Dr. Zyla's findings and the Council's previous directives. This situation warrants immediate re-evaluation." Under Mira's continued care, now shielded from further stress, Lyra's condition visibly stabilized. Her breathing deepened, her color returned, and a faint smile touched her lips. The monitors displayed a clear and undeniable improvement, further validating the human maternal factor and its critical role in hybrid infant health. Alara was released from custody, her name cleared. A public statement acknowledged her scientific insight and bravery in challenging the Council's dogma. She was hailed as a hero for her commitment to the truth. Zyla, too, received widespread acclaim for his scientific breakthrough. He was lauded for his intellectual honesty and his willingness to challenge established norms. He accepted the accolades with humility, emphasizing that the true credit belonged to Mira and her unwavering love. Finally, the moment arrived. Anthony, cleared of all charges, rushed to Mira's side, enveloping her and Lyra in a tight embrace. Tears streamed down their faces, tears of relief, joy, and profound gratitude. Their bond, forged in adversity, was stronger than ever. In the wake of these events, new medical protocols were established across the Voxari territories. Known as the Mira Accords, these protocols ensured that human maternal needs were prioritized in hybrid infant care, recognizing the human maternal factor as a vital component of neonatal health. Lyra grew into a healthy, vibrant child, embodying the best of both human and Voxari heritage. She became a symbol of unity and hope for the future, a living testament to the power of love and the importance of interspecies understanding. Her very existence challenged old prejudices and paved the way for a more inclusive and compassionate society. Years later, Mira held Lyra close, standing on a windswept hill overlooking a valley bathed in the warm light of a twin sunset. The sky blazed with colors crimson, gold, and violet, a breathtaking spectacle of alien beauty. Lyra, now a young girl, pointed to the sky, her eyes wide with wonder. "Mama," she said, her voice filled with innocent joy. "It's so beautiful." Mira smiled, her heart overflowing with love. "Yes, my darling," she whispered, "it is. And so are you." The twin suns dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the valley. But in Mira's arms, Lyra glowed with an inner light, a beacon of hope for a future where love knew no boundaries, and where the power of the human heart could heal even the deepest wounds.